Okay, so from today we are going to discuss core contact lens topic. So first topic in cornea and contact lens series is definitely going to be corneal physiology in relation to corneal physiology in relation to uh, contact lens. Yes, that's very important topic, and we are going to discuss about it. And I will definitely going to make another video on decay, decavity units. Today also I am going to discuss it, but yes, I will going to discuss about it specifically. And obviously, decay, decavity, these physiological things come later and later, repeated again and again whenever we going to talk about like contact lens materials and all. Okay, so let's move forward. Okay, so corneal physiology primarily concern is basically what about corneal physiology? We have already talked about corneal physiology per se in two videos, isn't it? But we are going to talk about corneal physiology in relation to contact lens. Okay, so primary concern with source of energy and fuel corneal metabolism. As we know, 85%, approximately 85% of the corneal uh, metabolism is anaerobic, and corneal transparency and its maintenance, definitely it's totally related to corneal physiology. Source of metabolite, glucose metabolism, corneal oxygenation, effect of contact lens on metabolism, corneal sensitivity, yes, we know this term, corneal temperature, stromal pH, and finally on the structural changes due to the contact lens induced hypoxia. So one of the great concern on corneal physiology is because of contact lens oxygen, contact lens hinders the direct atmospheric oxygen, and then hypoxic condition is therefore happening there because of contact lens. And nowadays contact lens materials are so good, but still that's the concern, isn't it? Corneal hypoxia. So let's move further. So corneal metabolism, the normal metabolic process are essential for maintaining the structural integrity of cornea, cell growth and replacement, definitely, and maintenance of the ionic pump mechanism. We have already talked about it. Why? Because corneal endothelium needs oxygen. Why? Because corneal endothelium is basically depending on the active pump mechanism. For active pumping, we need that corneal endothelium ATPs, isn't it? Which is responsible for maintaining the corneal relative state of dehydration. So epithelial cells in corneal undergoes a constant shading of the superficial cells, which is replaced by new cells generations from the limbal stem cells, and which is dependent on the corneal metabolism. And approximate life cycle is 7 days, isn't it? So it's basically very helpful that you understand the basic concept of cell replacement and basically forming new cells and basically wound healing. There are all things basically corneal metabolism, isn't it? If you hold the corneal metabolism, if there is something going on and hindering corneal metabolism, and that will definitely be problematic whenever you think about wound healing, whenever you think about endothelium pump mechanism. And slowly there will be structural damage that can be viewed on under slit lamp or under other investigations, isn't it? Okay, fine, let's move further. So corneal metabolism, carbohydrate metabolism predominates in the cornea, and glucose is its uh, principal monosaccharides, that's clear. So glucose it catabolized in three pathways, isn't it? One is glycolysis, another is Krebs cycle, tricarbolic cycle, another is monophosphate stunts. So let's grossly discuss about it in relation to cornea and contact lens. So in relation to cornea, basically glycolysis is oxygen-free method of producing energy, isn't it? That means what? Anaerobic. And in cornea, 85% of the glucose metabolism by anaerobic method, that by glycolysis. So glucose is first oxidized into pyruvate and then subsequently reduced to lactate. Yes, that's where the game is. And with a net yield of only 2 ATPs per glucose. And lactate is not essentially dispersed as a water and CO2. See, if this Krebs cycle is happening, then byproduct is water and CO2. If there is a glycolysis, then byproduct is lactate. CO2 and water disperse easily, but lactate not at all. So under normal condition, 85% of the glucose consumed is converted into lactate, indicating corneal physiology is overall glycolytic. So basically means the majority of the glucose is basically consumed by what do you call that majority of metabolism is by anaerobic method. But still, so byproduct is lactate. That's very important. We will discuss about it. So Krebs cycle, whenever it Krebs cycle under aerobic condition, glucose metabolism does not stop at the point of lactate formation but continues on the final product of water and CO2. So pyruvic acid from EM pathway is oxidized in acetyl coenzyme A and epithelium mitochondria which enters into the TCA cycles. Basically mitochondria TCA cycles happens in the mitochondria. Okay, results in greater yield 36 ATP. See, compare in glycolysis only 2 ATPs, in Krebs cycle 36 ATPs. Okay, in rough. Okay, so I'm not basically biochemist, but yes, this pathway is most active in corneal endothelium, which has greatest energy requirement, isn't it? Corneal endothelium needs greatest energy to activate that pump mechanism, isn't it? Active pump mechanism. So hexose monophosphate shunt is basically glucose 6 phosphate takes into the part of cyclic mechanism rather than producing ATP for general metabolism functions. It has main purpose of providing NADPSP and used for the biosynthesis and producing ribose 5 phosphate necessary for the synthesis of nucleosides and nucleic acids. It basically protects cornea, isn't it? Yes. So this is the chart where we are going to discuss deeply. Glycolysis happening, Krebs cycles happens in mitochondria. Uh, and glycolysis, see, glycolysis and three pathway. So oxygen requirement can occur without oxygen, that is glycolysis. In Krebs cycles, it definitely required, and SMP shunt can be occur without oxygen. The main substance is glucose to pyruvate to acetylcholine and glucose 6 phosphate. ATP yield approximately 2, very ineffective in case of glycolysis, but in case of Krebs cycle it's very effective, and no direct ATP production in case of SMP shunt. Then main in product that matters a lot, because in glycolysis lactate, okay, that's very important. In Krebs cycle CO2 and HO2 it's dispersed very easily. In SMP shunt NADPH. So byproduct significance. What is the significance of byproduct? If lactate is produced more and that lactate accumulates in the stroma, then what happens? Then definitely there is a difference in imbibition force. There is a difference in concentration, and because of that, water is sucked in from the aqueous, isn't it? And eventually, stroma is swelled. But CO2 and H2 is non-harmful, and at the same time ATP is very good fuel, and NADSP is used in antioxidant defense, reduce the glycemic and biosynthesis. So it's basically where the most active in the cornea, means glycolysis is most active in epithelium stroma, but Krebs cycle is most active in endothelium and peripheral epithelium, and SMP shunt is most active in epithelium, because HMP shunt will protect cornea from UV rays. Yes, the main functions in the cornea: glycolysis, rapid energy supply under the hypoxic to minimum cell survival. Basically means under hypoxia, rapid energy is supplied, minimum to maintain the survival. Krebs cycle, what it does: high energy supply for endothelium pump and barrier to keep cornea dehydration and clear. Basically means one of the central role of Krebs cycle in endothelium is to provide energy for endothelium pump mechanism, because endothelium pump mechanism is active process, isn't it? Okay. So what HMP shunt does, it provides the reducing power NADSP to protect against the oxidative stress. It's very helpful. So any SM path basically does protection. Okay, supplies ribose for nucleotide synthesis and the cell renewal. And effect on the cornea, what effect? There's three parts does. If excessive glycolysis is happened, then excessive byproduct is there, that is lactate formation. And after lactate formation, concentration, the higher concentration of lactate creates osmosis, which eventually retains the water, which suck the water from aqueous, and it creates edema and haze, isn't it? That's the process of corneal edema secondary to contact lens. It's always asked in your exam, in contact lens exam. If you understand this column, your answer will be very good. Not just good, very good. Okay. Krebs cycle effect on corneal. What it does, Krebs cycle, what it does. Okay. Krebs cycle does only one great thing, that its byproduct disperse easily, no harmful effect. At the same time, it gives good energy at endothelium cells, and endothelium cells is specifically for pump mechanism. Finished. And definitely, SMP shunt protect cornea from UV, induce oxidative damage, and maintain clarity. Okay, so what happen if CO2 under lens, O2 under lens goes down? Basically, if corneal contact lens material is have less decay by T, then oxygen at epithelial level definitely reduce, which shift C still 15%, roughly 15% is aerobic, roughly. But if contact lens is actually have very less decay by T, then this 15% move towards the 85%, isn't it? And then approximately 90% or 95% or 99% goes into the glycolysis, that is anaerobic condition. At that particular condition, what happens? Shifts towards the glycolysis basically means aerobic aerobic Krebs cycle halt completely if there is no oxygen, or halt like 99%, then everything, every energy cornea needed glycolysis, isn't it? And glycolysis means shift towards the glycolysis means what? The more the lactate, more lactate means what? More the osmotic pressure, and more water sucked, more edema, isn't it? That's the process. Okay, so Krebs cycle suppress under hypoxia, less ATP pump, and then what happens? If there is a Krebs cycle is suppressed, then energy for active pump mechanism, definitely it will gone. There is no ATP. Then what happens? Active pump mechanism reduces. What do you mean by that? It means simply endothelial cells cannot pump enough of water from cornea to aqueous, isn't it? And what happens then? It means cornea becomes edematous. It means there is a risk for transparency, isn't it? Yes. HMP shunt, if impact the contact lens, may become more important because oxidative stress increases with the lens wear. NADAP helps replenish the glutathione and protect the cell. So basically, when you put contact lens, and if you put bad contact lens, actually, if you put contact lens with less decay by T, then you create a lot of problem. Okay, fine. The source of metabolism, its possible route of metabolism of cornea is, we have discussed earlier, preliminal circulation, palpebral circulation, aqueous humor, tears. So preliminal contact lens, preliminal blood vessels provide metabolites for the peripheral cornea, isn't it? And limited importance, palpebral blood vessels also provide oxygen to the epithelium under closed eye conditions. So I have already told you, if there is MCQ like A, B, C, D, under closed condition, which of the following structure gives the maximum oxygen to cornea? Then just do this. Okay, palpebral conjunctival circulation, that's very important when eye is closed. Okay, so I think you got the concept. Then oxygen required for essential metabolism of the cornea is primarily derived from the atmosphere. Yes, when his eye is open, so basically oxygen dissolved to tear, and from diffusion it went to anterior corneal surface, isn't it? So glucose is primary source from the aqueous. It's very important. Just understand, whenever there is MCQs like glucose, the primary source of glucose for cornea. So don't take tear. Okay, it's aqueous humor. So amino acid, vitamins, and minerals also derive from aqueous humor. It's important. AS means aqueous humor. A small supplementary carbohydrate supplies is stored in in the cornea by conservation of glucose to glycogen. Okay. The source of corneal oxygenation I have already told you. See, in open eye condition, epithelium is supplied by atmosphere and aqueous humor, but highest by atmosphere. In closed condition, always remember pulmonary conjunctiva is most first. Then definitely there is a pulmonary conjunctiva, definitely there is aqueous humor. For stroma, half of the time aqueous humor and half of the oxygen from aqueous humor and half of the oxygen from atmosphere. So in closed condition, there is definitely a aqueous humor. Endothelium, whether closed or whether open, aqueous humor. Okay, it's very important when, and I think there are a lot of times MCQ is being asked from this particular slide. So oxygen tension, as the oxygen enters into cornea from both surfaces, it reaches the minimum tension in stroma. Okay, so I'll show you one. At sea level, corneal epithelium exposed to the partial pressure of oxygen, which is 21%. We know it, isn't it? Which means 155 mmHg. When eye are open, and actually it went to 55 mmHg when eye are closed. It's very important, these numbers. These numbers came in MCQ frequently. Okay. When the epithelium is subjected to oxygen tension below the critical level, corneal function impaired. Yes, that's what we are talking about, isn't it? dk by t, if it is very less, then oxygen tension below critical level goes, and then functions of the cornea impaired, and then corneal swelling, less transparency, and all the things happens. So what is critical level, we will definitely discuss about it. So that's what I'm talking about. So what do you mean by that? Means, so oxygen tension is higher here. It's approximately 155 at epithelium, actually, when eye is opened, and it's like around 55 when eye is closed or eye is not closed for endothelial cells, isn't it? So that's how, this is how it reduces all the way. So oxygenation for corneal value is correct. The topmost represent the eye open, and the third curve down represent the eye closed. This is eye closed. This is eye open. Just understand how these things goes. Okay, with the distance from aqueous humor, it's very important. Distance from aqueous humor. So how this graph goes and how this graph goes. Just understand this graph is very important for you. So oxygen consumption and availability. So each layer of the cornea consumes oxygen at its own rate. Epithelium roughly 20-40% of the oxygen, stromal roughly 39% of the oxygen, endothelium 21%. Just remember, epithelium approximately 5 to 6 layer. Stroma is the thickest, even 90% of the cornea. Only takes 39%. Only one layer endothelium, 21%. Can you think? Now, endothelium is single layer and yet consumes 21% oxygen. Yes, that's quite something. You must understand this concept. Epithelial oxygen utilizes is about 10 times than the stromal, and the approximately 0.2 that of the endothelium. So basically, epithelial oxygen utilization is approximately 10 times. Means what? So you have to consider thickness, you have to consider bulk, you have to consider mass, isn't it? All form of contact lens inhibits the supply of oxygen from the atmosphere. That's important point. Just remember, contact lens will not hinders oxygen to endothelium. It's really difficult because endothelium, no matter what, eye is closed, no matter what, eye is open, get oxygen from get oxygen from where? Get oxygen from, definitely from aqueous. But what contact lens does? Contact lens does prevent oxygen from atmosphere. So the amount of availability of oxygen is differ each lens type and material method. We know it, isn't it? Amount of lens type is definitely very important. That material method of fitting, yes, it's really important. Whenever the tight contact lens or loose contact lens, or whether there is high voltage scleral lens or low voltage scleral lens, it matters, isn't it? Yeah. So let's discuss about the oxygen permeability. That's what I am talking about: oxygen permeability, oxygen transmissibility, and I'm definitely going to make another video on it: oxygen permeability and oxygen transmissibility. But today let's discuss about it as far as possible, then we will make sure that we will get another video. So what do you mean by oxygen permeability? The permeability of oxygen, isn't it? Oxygen permeability of a material is a physical property and describe its intrinsic ability of transport oxygen. That's very important. Its intrinsic ability. We will not put anything there to have the oxygen permeability. It's intrinsic ability of that particular material. Okay, it generally refers to decay. It's very important. Decay. Okay, so decay stands for D and K. D means diffusion coefficient, K means solubility coefficient. So remember these things. Okay, what do you mean by D? What do you mean by diffusion? Diffusion is speed, movement, isn't it? So basically, diffusion is speed of the movement of gas molecules within the material matrix. It's very important. Okay, so solubility coefficient. What do you mean by solubility coefficient? How much oxygen is soluble to particular lens material, isn't it? So solubility coefficient is the volume of oxygen that can be dissolved in the contact lens material. Remember, solubility coefficient K means how much oxygen molecule dissolve in the contact lens material. At the same time, what is diffusion if coefficient? It means with what speed oxygen gas molecules move in material. Basically means if this is contact lens material, it means this material should have capacity to dissolve this oxygen and should have capacity to move the oxygen as fast as possible. Yes, that will be beneficial to us. So which means we want a material whose diffusion coefficient is high, means that material can pass oxygen speedily, very speedy manner, and we want that material have a property such that that material can dissolve maximum oxygen possible, so that K is maximum and D is maximum, so that decay definitely maximum. So that's the concept. Okay, so I'm going to discuss about it. Wait, so the unit, so always remember this unit. I'll definitely going to talk about. But one thing you have to remember is 10 to the power minus 11. When you see 10 to the power minus 11, it's definitely barrier unit. It's definitely fat unit. It's definitely unit of decay. When you see 10 to the power minus 9, it's definitely decay by T. It's definitely oxygen transmissibility. Okay, 10 to the power minus 11, it's oxygen permeability. Okay. So, so diffusion means centimeter square per second. Okay, expressed in terms of area per second. Why area? I have already told you diffusion means speed. Speed, as we have learned in school, is centimeter per second or meter per second, isn't it? But why it's centimeter square per second is, just remember, this is the material, and remember this is a matrix. This material has a matrix, okay? And one oxygen molecule came into the matrix, then this oxygen molecule cannot pass like this straightforward. Okay, it has to pass like zigzag 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 in a spaces, and then it moves away. So it's not passing through a straight line, and it's passing through zigzag zigzag, and that zigzag zigzag is covering an area. That's why we use D. Diffusion coefficient is centimeter squared per second. Just remember that. We're defining D as a speed of oxygen molecule passing through that particular material. But we express area per second. Why? Because molecule passes in zigzag zigzag pathway and it covers certain area. It's quite a good concept. You have to understand this concept. Otherwise, you will make failures when there is a MCQ like 1, 2, 3, 4 options and options of decay in units. Okay, it's really important. So, okay. So, K, what do you mean by K? Ox volume of oxygen dissolved in the material, isn't it? So, it expressed in the term of volume of oxygen, volume of lens material, pressure derived driving oxygen into a lens through the lens. It means, see, what mole of oxygen is dissolved in what mole of material at particular pressure. So that's the unit. Just remember this unit is very important. Solubility coefficient means what mole of oxygen dissolve in what mole of material at what pressure. That's what K means. So D means centimeter square per second. Okay. K means ml of O2 dissolved divided by ml of material into mm of Hg. Now total formula is centimeter square into ml of O2 divided by second into ml of material into mm of Hg. Yes, that's the unit. Just remember it. That's the unit. It's very important that you understand that unit, and you understand its decay. It's mean 10 to the power minus 11. It's decay 10 to the power minus 9. It's decay by T, which is oxygen transmissibility. Okay, so let's come to the oxygen transmissibility. We know oxygen transmissibility means decay is divided by thickness of the contact lens. Finished. Oxygen transmissibility is a physical property of the actual lens. You just remember the definition, it's important. Actual lens, the property of both thickness and the material. Property of the material itself, intrinsic, is oxygen permeability. Whenever you put thickness there, there's something thickness definitely hinders the oxygen passage. That's why we divide it, referred as a decay by T. Decay by T means oxygen transmissibility. Decay by T means 10 to the power minus 9. Remember it. With the unit of 10 centimeters per second. Dung 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 dung. Thus, see, now centimeter is only one, not centimeter square, because we divide it through the centimeter. So the thickness of the lens in the sample. Decay for a particular lens under a specific condition defined is the ability of lens to allow the oxygen move through the anterior to posterior surface, because we know anterior to posterior surface is a thickness. That's the concept. Okay. So wait, what water course? Okay, wait. So let's move further. Okay, what is the difference between oxygen permeability and oxygen transmissibility? Oxygen permeability is 10 to the power minus 9. Fat unit and barrier unit also unit are also this. In case dk by t means whenever you divide this for this particular unit by centimeter, then you got this 2 to 1. That's what happening here. Centimeters per second, mlO2, ml material, mmFHg. Just remember. 10 to the power 9 means oxygen transmissibility. 10 to the power 11 means oxygen permeability. Okay. So equivalent oxygen percentage. What do you mean by that? Equivalent oxygen percentage measure the actual oxygen concentration at the corneal surface during lens wear. Indirectly quantifies corneal environment under contact lens by asserting what O2 concentration in a hypoxic gas delivered to the cornea through the goggle or produce identical corneal response that produce the lens. In vivo method, assessing the oxygen material lens material oxygen performance basically means equivalent oxygen pressure means what is the pressure, what is the oxygen level below that contact lens if we want to measure it. And if this contact lens certain percentage of oxygen is there, what kind of structural changes are there we can see. So oxygen equivalent oxygen percentage measure is actually actual oxygen concentration at corneal surface during the lens wear. So EOP is also one of the method, and definitely going to correlate with decay and decavity, but it's also one another method where we indicate whether that contact lens is good or not. Okay. So first, oxygen consumption rate of open eye is determined under normal conditions. Then contact lens is worn for the fixed period of time and corneal hypoxia is induced by the lens wear. Immediately after the removal, corneal oxygen uptake rate is measured, and then Then, after hypoxic gas, in which oxygen concentration ranges from 0 to 21, is delivered to the cornea via goggles, and immediately after each gas removal, oxygen consumption rate is measured. After consumption curve for each known gas concentration is established, they are compared with the post-lens weigh data. The oxygen concentration in that hypoxic gas, which produce the identical corneal response to that produced by the lens EOP. So this is one of the procedure. Okay, just pause the video and you can read what is oxygen flux. Anything flux means the movement, isn't it? This is a measurement of actual oxygen available in the corneal epithelium. So that's basically means flux means always a movement. It is expressed in the microliter O2 per centimeter square per hour. Okay, this is another unit. So I'm not going to discuss about these things in detail. So oxygen supplied to the cornea when contact lens is worn, then what are the things that matters for the supplement of the oxygen whenever you are wearing your contact lens, and that really important clinically. Okay, the cornea receives oxygen from one or both of the following mechanism. See what are the mechanism. Tear movement and extend under the lens causes the tear pump during blinking, because whenever there is a tear pump below the contact lens, whenever you blink, then old tear is replaced by new tears, and new tears carrying oxygens, isn't it? New fresh oxygen, new fresh tears carries new fresh oxygen. So it means what? That whenever there is a tear pump going on during blinking under contact lens, your cornea will get oxygen. So one of the method. Another method is oxygen diffusion through the material. That's the crucial method, because see, no matter what, no matter how good tear pump during in under contact lens, let's take an example, it's best like 20% of tear exchange is there, but it will never be good if your contact lens has decay by T like 0, like PMMA. It's very important. So that's why the first method, if it is like ideal, we don't care about it. Okay, we don't care about it. Yes, we want tear pump there, because the only function of tear pump is not just giving us new oxygen, or oxygen itself, not new or old, but tear pump has another functions, which are definitely removing anything trapped under whatever tear lens, on the contact lens. So flossing the old tear and replacing with a new tear, which is very beneficial. So tear pump mechanism is important, but it will never ever cover the complete need of oxygen. So we always wanted to depend on oxygen diffusion through the material. So which is a method relied on the soft contact lens, which exhibited a little movement on the cornea. Definitely soft contact lens, little movement on the cornea. Scleral lens, almost zero movement on the cornea. Yes, definitely there is some movement, but almost zero movement. So no matter what, if there is no movement, if there is very little movement, we can wear soft contact lens, we can wear scleral lens, just because the material itself has good diffusion capacity, isn't it? Yes, that's important. So just see this thing. Approximately 1.1 to 2% oxygen supply is by a tear pump. So basically a very little in tear pump in case of soft contact lens. Just remember, some books write 1 to 5%. Egal, doesn't matter. So in soft contact lens, just remember 1 to 2%. In rigid lens, if you fit proper, if your fit is good, not tight, then 10 to 20% of oxygen is supplied through the uh, tear pump mechanism. Is it sufficient? Definitely not. So we do not rely on tear pump mechanism for the oxygen. Yes, it's very beneficial. Yes, good fitting is very important, but you will never rely on tear pump mechanism for the oxygen. If you can rely on the tear pump mechanism for the oxygen, then one answer you must have as an optometrist, then we can fit PMMA. This is the question. If we can rely on the tear pump mechanism, can we rely again on the PMMA? No, because PMMA has decay like zero. We cannot rely on good fitting PMMA lens material, because PMMA lens material we have to rely on this only 10 to 20% oxygen because of tear pump. And then what? We will see the catastrophical corneal changes secondary to hypoxia, isn't it? Yes. So actually, I was thinking about doing all covering all the presentation, but it's not possible. So it's already been 35 minutes. So I think I will continue from this slide in the next video. So lens performance criteria, maintaining health, corneal health. Definitely, we are going to talk about Holland and Merz criteria, and then we are going to talk about Harvard and Bonanno criteria. So I think I have to stop here. It's too long, isn't it? Okay. So I think I have to stop here. I will definitely going to start from this very slide. Bistan, choose.